He leaned back in his broad leather chair, the city lights winking below through the vast windows of his penthouse suite. Senator Garba brushed a speck of lint from his bespoke black suit and exhaled. Across the mahogany table sat his trusted aide, Halima, folding her hands in silent deference. "Everything is proceeding as we planned," he said, his voice smooth but cold. "The election in Odo State will be ours. No irregularities, no flaps, and the funds have been transferred. The contractors are in place. The media is in our pocket." Halima dared a small nod, but behind her eyes flickered something, anxiety. She had seen the underbelly of his empire, illicit contracts, shell companies, intimidation of rivals, but she believed in the senator, or at least in what she thought he represented. Across the city, in a cramped newsroom lit by flickering fluorescent bulbs, Adaeze Ajayi leaned close over her laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. She had uncovered a document suggesting that millions of naira had been diverted from public health funds into an account offshore traced back to Senator Garba. Her pulse quickened at the implications. This was the kind of story that could bring down kingdoms. She glanced over her shoulder, always cautious. In Nigeria's capital, journalism was a dangerous profession, especially when your subject is powerful. But she could not walk away. Too many had died in silence. The untouchable Garba's rise had been meteoric. Born in a modest northern village, he came to Lagos as a young man, bright and ambitious. He studied law, won election to the House of Representatives, then to the Senate. But ambition had turned dangerous. Allies were bought or intimidated, dissent was crushed, accountability was redefined as interference. In time, whispers began. How many hospitals were left half-built? How many roads cracked? How many nurses went unpaid? Yet contracts were lucrative, money flowed, and Garba lived like royalty while many suffered. Yet in the halls of the Senate, he inspired fear. Even senior members avoided calling him out. His smile was charming, his rage volcanic. Those who crossed him vanished, public scandal, judicial hassles, or worse. He made sure everyone knew what happened to disloyalty. Still, he had one weakness, overconfidence. He believed he was untouchable, that no one had the courage or the means to bring him down. Tonight, he would extend that arrogance. The act that changes everything. It started with a visit. At 2:30 a.m., a sleek black SUV slid silently up to the small home of Chief Abubakar Musa, one-time ally turned critic. The senator's men disembarked, masks drawn, guns in hand. Chief Musa was dragged outside, humiliated and beaten, not to kill, but to send a message. A video was recorded. "We can do this to anyone," intoned a voice. The footage was circulated, disappearing swiftly from trusted screens, then resurfacing in whispers. Garba dismissed it as a smear campaign. But the public saw. Adaeze's phone buzzed. A tipster. "I have the video. It's real." She felt adrenaline. She messaged editors. "This is bigger than we thought." Meanwhile, Halima, hearing rumors, swallowed bile. Was this wisdom or folly? The dawn would show. Public outrage swelled. Protests, social media campaigns, people demanding accountability. The opposition smelled blood. Garba's allies started phoning each other, voice trembling. Some called from behind closed doors, asking, "Should we abandon ship?" In a private mansion in Victoria Island, Senator Garba paced the tiled floor, phone to ear, cursing a minister for leaking a statement. His aide entered. "Sir, the prosecutors are asking for documents, and the press has published the video. They're demanding your resignation." He slammed the phone. "They're nothing. I'll bury them." But for the first time, sweat beaded on his brow. Meanwhile, Adaeze was already on the streets, interviewing people whose lives had been affected by Garba's projects. A mother whose child died in a hospital with no medicine. A teacher whose salary was stolen. A whistleblower in Garba's own ministry offered to meet her, but warned, "Come alone." The meeting place was an abandoned cafe on the outskirts of Abuja. Faded posters clung to the walls, and the smell of stale coffee hung in the air. Adaeze sat at a corner table, her eyes darting to the door every few seconds. Rain drummed softly on the corrugated roof as the power flickered. Then the door creaked open. A man in a brown hoodie entered, glancing around nervously before sliding into the seat opposite her. "Man, you came alone?" "Yes. Are you the one who called?" "Name's Musa Bello. I worked under Senator Garba's infrastructure committee until I saw too much." He slid a flash drive across the table. Adaeze hesitated. "Opens on it. Musa. Contracts. Offshore accounts, fake invoices, even voice recordings, everything you need to bury him. He leaned closer, his voice trembling. But listen, if you publish this, they'll come for you. They always do. Adaeze's pulse quickened. She knew the risk, but truth had a way of haunting her. She couldn't walk away. Adaeze, if you're telling the truth, I won't let this die. Not again. Then you must move fast. I'm already being followed. Suddenly, headlights flared outside the cafe. 2 SUVs, tinted windows. Musa froze. Musa, they found me. Glass shattered as masked men stormed in. Adaeze ducked, heart pounding. Musa bolted toward the back door. Gunfire erupted. She screamed, crawling beneath the table. Moments later, the men fled, leaving the cafe in chaos. Musa was gone, his chair overturned, blood dripping onto the floor. Adaeze grabbed the flash drive and ran into the storm. The boiling point morning came with headlines that shook the nation. Corruption files leak. Senator Garba implicated in $18 billion diversion. News stations buzzed. Hashtags exploded online. Garba files, justice for Musa, power must change hands. Garba stormed into his office, slamming a newspaper onto the table. Garba, who leaked this? Who dares print my name without proof? Halima, sir, it's everywhere. The documents match government archives. Archives? His voice sharpened. Then it's an inside job, paced like a lion cornered. Behind him, portraits of past leaders watched silently. Reminders of power and of how quickly it fades. His phone buzzed. It was Chief Kuda, a party elder. Garba, what nonsense am I seeing on the news? The presidency is asking questions. You'd better control this fast. Don't worry, Chief, I'll handle it. You'd better. Even the gods can bleed when they anger the people. Garba hung up, jaw tight. He called his driver. Prepare the convoy. We're going to the media house. I'll make a statement myself. The statement. By noon, cameras flashed outside the National Press Center. Senator Garba stood before microphones, chin lifted, eyes blazing. My fellow Nigerians, these so-called leaks are fabrications, politically motivated lies. Certain elements want to tarnish my reputation. They will fail. I have served this country faithfully for decades. Those who challenge me will face the full weight of the law. Applause from his loyalists. But in living rooms across the nation, millions shook their heads. The video of his arrogance went viral again, side by side with documents showing billions missing from public accounts. At the same time, Adaeze was hiding in a safe house provided by her editor. Her laptop glowed in the dim light. Ada, are you sure this data's real? I've cross-checked every line. The evidence is airtight. Then be ready. Once this drops, Garba will declare war. As it exhaled, staring at Musa's flash drive, she whispered a silent prayer for him. Your truth won't die in vain. She hit upload. Within hours, every major outlet carried the full expose. Emails, bank transfers, voice notes. Senator Garba's empire began to tremble. Shadows within. That night, Garba summoned his most trusted men to his mansion. Rain lashed against the windows as the power flickered. Garba, whoever betrayed me is in this room. Man one, Senator, we swear, none of us. Silence! He slammed his fist on the table. I built all of you, and this is how you repay me? Halima sat quietly in the corner, observing. Something inside her shifted. She had watched Garba destroy families, silence critics, and grow richer while people starved. But tonight, for the first time, she saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. Later that night, she walked into her office and opened her drawer. Inside was a second flash drive, copies of all the files she had made months ago, just in case. She hesitated. Her phone buzzed. A message, unknown number. We know you're not clean either. Choose a side before it's too late. She froze. Her loyalty to Garba was crumbling, but betrayal meant death. Still, conscience whispered louder than fear. The unseen hands. Days later, Garba's enemies in the Senate saw an opportunity. Private calls were made, meetings held behind closed doors. Some who once bowed to him now plotted his replacement. Meanwhile, Adaeze received another anonymous message. There's more. A hidden account in Dubai. Find it. Follow the trail through Kabira Holdings. She dug deeper, tracing a labyrinth of offshore shell companies, all pointing to Garba. Her investigation uncovered one more shocking truth. The funds stolen were originally meant for a national children's hospital. She stared at the screen, trembling. As, my God, he stole from dying children. Her tears turned to anger. She began writing her next headline. The children he forgot, how Senator Garba's greed cost hundreds their lives. Desperation. Garba knew the walls were closing in. A subpoena arrived from the Anti-Corruption Commission. His phones were tapped. His allies stopped answering calls. One night, while staring into his mirror, he whispered, Garba himself, "They think they can destroy me? I made them. Every single one of them owes me their seat." He laughed bitterly, then poured himself another drink. But behind him, Halima stood in the doorway, silent. "Sir, the investigators are coming tomorrow. They're requesting your bank records." "Let them come. I have nothing to hide." "Do you believe that, sir?" He turned, glaring. "Careful, Halima. I raised you from nothing. Don't bite the hand that feeds you." "Halima, you didn't feed me, sir. You fed yourself and left the people hungry." She walked out, leaving him staring at the door, fists clenched. Outside, thunder cracked across the Abuja sky. The breaking point. The next morning, chaos erupted. Security agents stormed Senator Garba's home at dawn. Cameras followed as men in black jackets seized files and laptops. Neighbors watched from afar, whispering, "So even the mighty can fall." Garba emerged, face pale but defiant. To reporters, "This is harassment. I will fight this injustice to my last breath." But deep inside, his world was falling apart. His accounts were frozen. His wife had flown abroad. His political godfathers denied him. By evening, Adaeze's second expose broke, and this time, even his own party members turned against him. The president called for a public hearing. Halima received a summons to testify. She didn't sleep that night. She knew what her truth could cost her, but she also knew silence was worse. The hearing. The Senate chamber was packed. Cameras rolled. Reporters filled every corner. Garba sat stiffly, his once imposing frame now frail under bright lights. Adaeze sat in the gallery, her recorder on. Halima stepped forward, trembling slightly but determined. "Chairman? Miss Halima Sani? You were Senator Garba's executive assistant for 8 years. Are you aware of any misconduct?" "Yes, sir. I was the one who prepared the offshore transfers. Under orders." The room gasped. "Lies! She's been paid by my enemies." "Order, Senator," Halima continued, tears streaming. "I was afraid to speak, but the truth is, we stole from the people. From hospitals, schools, and the poor, and Musa Bello was killed for trying to stop it." Murmurs swept the chamber. Adaeze felt a lump in her throat. The truth was finally piercing the darkness. The fall, weeks later, the court delivered judgment. Senator Garba was found guilty of embezzlement, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy to murder. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison. As guards led him away, he turned to the cameras, shouting, "Garba, you think this ends me? I am power itself. You'll all crawl back." But his voice was swallowed by silence. Outside, crowds cheered. Justice, though delayed, had come. Adaeze watched from a distance, clutching her notebook. She whispered, "No one is untouchable. Not anymore." Halima, now under witness protection, sent her a message. "Thank you for not giving up. The truth matters." Adaeze replied simply, "Always." Months passed. The government announced reforms in procurement and transparency. Musa Bello's family received posthumous recognition. And Adaeze's documentary, The Untouchable, won an International Journalism Award. But the story wasn't about glory. It was about awakening. In schools, teachers began telling children about the fall of Senator Garba, not as gossip, but as a lesson. Power, they said, is like fire, beautiful when it gives light, but destructive when left unchecked. He built empires on lies, thinking he could silence truth with fear. But even the loudest tyrants forget, silence never lasts forever. When arrogance meets justice, the fall is inevitable. And in that fall, we find our greatest lesson. No one is untouchable when the people remember their power. Moral and emotional lessons. Power without accountability leads to destruction. One act of courage can ignite change. Truth always outlives tyranny. Fear thrives in silence, but once one voice speaks, others will follow. He built empires on lies, thinking he was untouchable. But when truth finally rose, his power crumbled like sand in the wind. This is more than a story, it's a warning. No one is above justice. If this tale moved you, don't just scroll away. Hit that like, share it with others, and subscribe for more powerful African stories that expose truth, inspire courage, and remind us that light always wins. Because here on Tales by Quest, stories aren't just told, they awaken nations.